Quick introduction. So today, Julian and I are going to take you through our current product, SvHCI. Some of you have seen some of this before. We're going to give you an update on how things are going with sales so far. We just GA'd the product in August, so we've been shipping it for a few months. We were at Tech Live in May doing a preview of the announcement. So the last few months we've been very busy launching and started selling around August timeframe. So we'll give you an update, and then at the end, per what Fred said, we're going to be announcing version 2 of the product December 10th. So the timing for this event worked out quite well, but it's still 3 or 4 weeks away. So that part will be under embargo. So everything you see is fine to talk about publicly until the very end, and those slides will be labeled in red so you'll know which ones are under embargo. Okay? So just quick introductions, myself and Julian. So Bruce Kornfeld, some of you, I've met many of you, but my background is I was early career days at Dell, helped start the storage division, and me and my cube mate invented the name PowerVault. So those of you that remember that brand, so that was back in the 90s. Yes, I know I look like I'm in my 20s, but I'm a little bit older than that. So Dell days, early storage days, PowerVault, OEM things from Clarion and EMC and whatnot, and then Compellent for a bunch of years. And that some of you must have written about Compellent to remember that. Rocket ship of a company that eventually went public and got bought by Dell. And now I've been at StorMagic for about 8 years, running the product organization, product management, as well as the marketing function. So I know a lot about StorMagic. I'm happy to answer questions about history, anywhere you want to go. So pass it over to Julian for a quick intro.
Yeah, thank you, and great to be here, and thanks for coming, everyone. So my name's Julian Chesterfield. I'm the CTO. I joined StorMagic this year, and it's been an exciting journey so far. Unfortunately, I did just miss the Paris event, but nice to meet everyone today. So my background, technical, obviously, I've worked in cloud and storage virtualization for many years. In a previous life, I was one of the creators of the Zen hypervisor, which was a technology that came out of Cambridge University. And we had a company that was acquired by Citrix, and I worked within that ecosystem for a number of years. Of course, now, with SvHCI, it's a UK-based company. It's a very exciting place to work. We're working on some very cutting-edge technology in the hyperconverged space, and it's been a fun experience to get to know the team and to bring SvHCI to market.
And Julian will be doing a live demo here shortly, so it should be fun.
Fingers crossed.
Does anyone want to ask a question before we get started? Everyone kind of clear on where we're headed? All right. So I'm going to spend a few minutes on the company overview. I apologize if you've seen this before, but I know you talk to a lot of people, so seeing them again wouldn't hurt, but there are some new faces that haven't really heard the StorMagic story, so I'll go through who is StorMagic, who do we target, so the market we're going after. I'll talk about our European business a little bit, so you'll see our go-to-market in Europe, and then we'll dive into some product stuff as well, okay? And then Julian will hit a demo towards the end. So who's StorMagic? So we've been in business the company was founded 18 years ago, believe it or not. Some of those engineers and founders are still in the bowels of the company writing code. So it's been a long journey. And we were known back then for, I'd like to say the inventor of virtual SAN, but we were one of them. We actually had our virtual SAN to market before VMware, and we named it SvSAN, StorMagic Virtual SAN, and then a couple years later, somehow VMware launched vSAN. So anyway, but we've been in that business a long time, and we focus on the market that requires on-site IT in a small fashion. So I'll talk about this more later, but we don't target the data center. We look for opportunities where customers need to run applications on site at a small site, whether that's a retail location, a manufacturing site, an oil rig in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, anywhere that's small. Or a good chunk of our business are small businesses that have maybe 1 or 2 sites. Our largest customer is a retailer in the US that has 6,400 retail outlets, and they're using our SvSAN product. So we've been in this market for a long time. We've got thousands of customers around the world that helps us establish credibility. We have over 50,000 installations around the world. We've been doing this a long time. And like I said, there's different names for it, but we generally call it Edge, Enterprise Edge, and SMB. That's really what we target. And what I like to say as we're training the sales team, if your partner wants to bring you into an opportunity where there's a data center and there's racks and racks of servers, walk away. That's not our business. Go buy Nutanix, VMware, Microsoft, whatever you need, but that's not our space. Our space is they just need a small amount of kit to run local applications, and that's what we're really good at. And we help customers run their applications and store their data and keep things running through any type of scenario. And you're going to see Julian do a demo here to give you an example of how we do that. I think that covers that slide. Feel free, by the way, I want this to be interactive, and I probably don't have to remind some of you to chime in and ask questions, but feel free to go for it. There you go.
So if working at the edge, you're going to link up to, in some cases, to big back office data centers to store the data, question mark? So you have companies, much bigger companies, that will have small departments at the edge.
Correct.
And they will link back to a big data center.
Correct.
So you're not totally involved in data
center. Yeah, in case you couldn't hear the question, it's around, he's trying to confirm that we're not completely separate from the data center, that there are connections to a data center somewhere, and that's true. So that large retailer I was talking about, unfortunately, they don't let us publicize the name, but it's okay. Perfect example, they have 6,400 locations. What's interesting is they don't do backup. So they don't have Commvault or a Veeam or whatever it is. They don't do traditional backup because it's too many sites. It's too many sites to have local backups everywhere. So they don't want to put a NAS for backup or a tape, whatever it is. So they run everything locally, and this scares us sometimes, but customers often say, we don't do backup because we trust that your stuff's going to do what you say it's going to do. Meaning if a server fails, everything keeps running. But to answer your question, yes, they have connections to their data center or to a cloud, whichever, or both. And they have infrastructure set up so that they move critical data that they can't afford to lose. They do pump it back to a corporate data center or cloud occasionally in case something bad happens at the site. So there's always a connection somewhere else. It's usually not an island on its own. And we're going to demonstrate this later, but the big differentiator we have in the market is that our architecture allows for only 2 physical servers per site. And those of you that are technologists in the room probably know that to have a proper, highly available cluster, you need 3 nodes. You need a quorum, because if you don't, then if one of these fails, the other one doesn't know that it has to take over. So you need 3. Our 3rd node is a tiny little witness that runs in the cloud, runs on a Raspberry Pi, can run anywhere. But that's our secret sauce, if you will, and that's how we win a lot of business, particularly in the retail space. That is our largest vertical. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. I've got some slides on this, but that's our differentiator. So they typically run this witness in the cloud as well, because they don't want to have that 3rd node sitting at every location. But thanks for asking the question. Mr. Wu.
Julian, why did you join StorMagic?
Ooh, good question.
I've worked in the HCI space for a number of years. I think the the compelling thing for me was that, I mean, StorMagic is a very established brand. It's an established technology. I was particularly interested in the types of customers and the growth that we're starting to see at the edge. I think that's one of the reasons that I'm enjoying working at StorMagic. We're seeing this growth in data, and particularly driven by AI and machine learning applications that are needing to execute close to the source to make decisions. And I think infrastructure that supports the edge is becoming more and more critical.
Yeah, and I'll just say that Julian is very modest, but we're very excited to have him on board. To have someone with his background and experience, like he said, he's one of the creators of the original Zen hypervisor. So to have that experience on the team, it's been great. As we've moved into the hypervisor space, it's been great to have Julian on board. It's only been 4 months or so, but it's going to be a great journey with Julian on board. Any other StorMagic background questions anybody wants to ask?
Suppose you're not worried about ransomware on the 6,400 locations. You have protection against ransomware. Well, I can imagine somebody targeting one of those 6,400 locations and taking that out of business. That might be quite a severe attack on the parent company.
Yeah, so the question was about ransomware, and all of our customers do something with ransomware, potentially third-party software. How we help with that is we offer data encryption to make sure that if there's something weird that happens, any data that escapes won't be usable by the bad actor. So that's something that we do provide. It's a chargeable feature, but it's quite low price. So most of our customers choose to do encryption for all of the data in the systems.
Yeah, I mean, I would add to that. I mean, I think obviously ransomware is always a challenge for any business, particularly at the application level. It's hard for us to, obviously we don't control the apps that customers run in these environments, but we do spend a lot of time and focus on really securing the edge footprint. So, making sure that the attack surface is very minimal, and making sure that, we don't have vulnerabilities in our platform, because obviously that can expose an enterprise to potential attacks at edge locations. But that said, also I think the edge sites are really quite autonomous, so they typically run independently. They don't require a centralized, obviously other than access to the witness, which isn't a backdoor. These sites really manage and store data locally, and it's up to the customers how they move that data around and how they transfer it and so on.
Is there another question? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you offer air gapping and immutability?
We do, for sure, yes. So air gapping, I mean, we have a number of customers that run completely disconnected sites. Now, obviously, with the edge control functionality, we'll talk a little bit about that as well. That is a cloud-based service, so for customers who want to be able to manage and control many sites from a centralized dashboard. It's not a requirement to deploy the edge sites, though. So the edges can run completely independently. They can run, fully disconnected.
In this case, the witness should be in the same.
The witness needs to be accessible, for sure, but it doesn't have to be cloud accessible.
Yeah, the witness can be local as well. Can be local. So some of our customers actually run 2 servers like this, and they choose a Raspberry Pi as the third node, just kind of Velcroed to the side because they don't want to do a cloud witness, so they do it all locally. So that's possible to do. It looks like I don't even need slides. I think we can just do everything with Q&A, which is great.
For the witness.
Okay.
The witness has to be a compute node, right? A Linux instance, yeah. So not a storage target. The witness could also be a NAS. Yeah, correct.
We're going to talk lots about tech here shortly.
Yeah.
Anything else? I don't see any other hands. Okay, so I'm going to gloss over this slide because I know we have representatives from different media and analysts here, but I want to let you know that we are we've been doing this a long time. We've gotten a lot of publicity from press and analysts around the globe, and it's one of the reasons we're here today. So customers. So a couple of takeaways from this slide. One is that we have a lot of brand name customers around the globe. So we have some really serious companies that are trusting us to run their mission critical data, either at their primary location if they're a small company, or at lots of locations if they're a big company. The other takeaway here is that we are successful in just about any vertical market you can think of. I will say that the top 3 pretty much hit our main targets. So retail, manufacturing, healthcare. Most of our case studies and accolades that we've gotten publicly come from those, but we have lots of customers in government, military, school districts, accounting firms. So we're pretty widespread across the vertical markets that you can think of. And you'll see here in a second, we have been doing business in Europe for a long time. We just haven't had, I'll just say it, the budget to do events like this often enough, right? So we're just really now trying to get the word out to our European constituents. But we have been doing business here for quite a while, and I'll go there next. So this is a sampling of some of our customers, end user customers, and our partners by region here in Europe. So I'm sure there are some brands there that you all recognize. We sell through channel partners everywhere around the world. So I'll go back to the previous slide that had our channel program on there. But in general, our sales team is leveraged because we work with partners. And our biggest partner is HPE. So we've got a good relationship with them. On the server side, we also partner with Lenovo. So between HPE and Lenovo, we get a lot of attention from their sales team. And they just know that when they have an opportunity, that's small site, a couple of servers, VMware, vSAN, Hyper-V, it's usually Nutanix, they're usually overkill for these small sites. So their salespeople know if they just want to close a deal with 2 servers, small budget, it's StorMagic and the servers, whether it's Dell, HPE, we work on any server, but those are the 2 server manufacturers we partner with the most. Yeah.
Yeah, so just on, since you mentioned vSAN, how is Broadcom VMware impacting your business and the opportunities?
Yeah, I guess this is as good a time as any to talk about it, but because I don't think I have a specific slide on it. But yeah, the question, in case you couldn't hear, was about Broadcom. We are very happy with what's happened in the industry, and we thank Broadcom for causing the chaos that they've caused. I'll just put it that way, simply put. We hitched our wagon. Is that the right way to say that? I might have that phrase wrong, but we've hitched our wagon to VMware in the past, right? SvSAN was a virtual SAN that required a hypervisor. So most of those thousands of customers around the world are running vSphere, for hypervisor. We do have Hyper-V customers as well, but 90% of our installs are VMware. So we were going along, fat, dumb, and happy, beating vSAN in the market for all these years. Broadcom comes along and just changes everything. And it's been great for us in that, listen, I think Broadcom is very smart. They must know what they're doing financially. They're holding on to their big enterprise accounts. I guess they call it their top 2,000 or whatever it is. So there are some very happy Broadcom VMware customers that will happily buy VCF because it's simpler and bundled and maybe it's even less cost for them. But anything below those top 2,000 accounts is now fair game. And I can't tell you how much demand we've gotten from our partners and our customers saying we are done with VMware. We will be moving off. We don't know exactly when, how, or to whom, but if you have a solution, we want to talk to you. It's been quite good for our business, and that's what got us to get into the hypervisor world. And one of the reasons we brought Julian on, right? So it's been about a year. Approximately a year ago is when Broadcom announced all the changes. We knew something was coming, but we didn't know what it would be until about a year ago. And that's when we realized that, I'll get you in a second. That's when we realized that there's going to be an opportunity here. And we were able to bring SvHCI, which is our full stack product, which hopefully I'll get to today. We brought that to market rather quickly because we announced in June, so 6 months later, and we GA'd in August. And it's pretty quick for a full stack product to hit the market. The backstory there is that our engineers were off designing this thing 7-8 years ago. Like when I first joined the company, we were building a full stack KVM solution. And when they brought it to the sales and marketing team, we looked at it and we're like, pretty cool technology, but how are we going to compete with VMware? They're the gorilla in the market. How does a little company like StorMagic compete against vSphere? So we shelved that project about 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago. So the way we were able to bring this to market so quickly was we said, we already designed that thing, and we pulled it off the shelf. We got smart people like Julian to look at it, who knows hypervisors really, really well, and we got that product to market in 6 or 8 months. It's a long answer to your question, but yeah, the Broadcom thing's been quite...
a quick follow-up.
Yep.
Obviously there's a lot of excitement and noise that this was a disruptive event in the market that's going to change the course of many customers' sort of directions. But when push comes to shove, it seems that actually getting off VMware is difficult, right?
Yep.
And some of our research suggests that not many customers have done it so far. Don't doubt that intent, that appetite, that desire to do it.
Right.
Customers actually doing it. Have you seen that yet?
Yeah, so the question was, are we actually seeing customers transition from VMware because it's hard to do? So yeah, we've read the same research from companies like you guys, ESG and IDC and Gartner, whoever it is. There's a lot of research out there that says the same thing, that there's desire, but it's hard to move off. So let's just bite the bullet and renew VMware and we'll worry about it next year. So we are seeing a lot of that. We are seeing a lot of customers say, I have desire, I know I'm going to move off. There's one of our large customers, I mentioned our largest customer with 6,400 locations, but we have plenty of others with hundreds and thousands as well. And there's one of them, I can't remember who it is, I'm not hiding anything, but one of our larger customers, I'm not sure if it's coincidence or luck or they were smart, but they renewed their VMware contract for 5 years, like the week before the announcement. So they're set for 5 years. Like, we'll talk to you in 4 years from now, right? But most of them have months left on their VMware support agreement, or some of them are saying, you know what, I have to renew for a year, but let's start doing proof of concept. So yeah, there is some slowness around that, but I will say that for the smaller companies where we do a lot of business, they're looking at a new deployment, let's say, and they don't want to go to VMware because it's way too expensive for them, or their renewal's coming up. And to do a small site, if you're an SMB, we sell through the channel, and our reseller partners are very good at doing the install and supporting them. So the owners of these small businesses don't have to think about VMware, Microsoft. They just trust their integrator or their VAR. So we do a lot of training and enablement with our channel so that it's easy for them. And we have tools to help them bring VMware VMs into our system very easily and accurately. And we'll talk about that more as we get into product here, maybe.
So presumably you're not locked into your solution. I mean, people don't like being locked into a big company like VMware, and they're going to be fairly happy about it if they have defined this. So once we get onto your side, moving off if they ever wanted to would be quite easy.
Yeah, there's a little bit less of the lock-in concern with going with the StorMagic solution. We are based on KVM, which you'll learn about. It's a KVM-based solution, so it gives customers a little peace of mind that it's not a proprietary, homegrown hypervisor. We've taken KVM, we've made it our own, we've tweaked it. They don't have to see KVM, they see StorMagic. We've made it simple. You'll see the demo of how we've done the user interface, but the core of it is KVM, so that helps with customers that are concerned, like, will this happen again, right? With the whole Broadcom thing, yeah.
I like how you said that exit strategy. Even if they don't intend to ever use it, it's good to think about it.
The nice thing about the market, though, also is, thanks to VMware doing this for, I can't say how many, at least 20 years, but virtual machines, I think you all know, virtualization on mainframes has been around for 80 years, 60 years, whatever it is, but VMware invented virtualization for x86. But they've been doing it for 20 years, more. It's kind of a commodity at this point. Running a virtual machine is not that complicated anymore. So yeah, there's the portability of a VM from VMware to us, or God forbid somebody ever wants to leave StorMagic, but taking a StorMagic VM and going somewhere else isn't that difficult anymore.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to the on-disk storage format. VMware, of course, has the VMFS volume manager, which makes it harder for customers to extract the data and so on. We don't have any, we're using open source methodology. It's sort of raw data format images. So moving a VM from StorMagic to another platform would be very straightforward. Yeah.
Excuse me, the services are the way you log in these days. You don't log in on the hardware, you log in on the services you give people.
Right.
And
Yes.
it's too hard to actually work out how to untangle yourself from the services that they supply.
Yeah.
All right, so, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Bad memory, I'm sorry.
No problem at all. At which moment will you walk away from a deal? So you said if it's racks and racks and racks, you walk away.
Right.
So when is that moment? Because a lot of the smaller companies will be looking into, okay, so maybe it's already mentioned, I guess, we've got the edge, but we've got a data center as well, which may not even be racks and racks. So when is the moment that you will say, okay, now it's too much, we will...
Yeah, that's a good question about where's the line where we walk away. So I would say our sweet spot is where companies need to run 2 or 3 servers. They have 10 VMs, they have 20 VMs, 50 VMs, but it's all local. They only need the horsepower that they can get in 2 or 3 physical servers. That's our market. We should never lose there, right? There are times we lose for other reasons, political reasons or whatever. They don't know StorMagic, but that's our sweet spot. And to your point, racks and racks of servers is walk away. Now, where's the gray area, right? So I would say there's ways for us to deliver a solution where there's multiple clusters at a single location, and we have our edge control product that Julian will show. It's an edge management solution, so you can see all of your locations, all of your servers. So some customers have chosen to build a 4-node cluster or 6, and we have management tools to help them manage it. So it all depends on the salesperson, the VAR, how much effort they want to spend. It's not our bread and butter, but it's possible. So I would say we wouldn't walk away from a 4 or 6 server opportunity, but they just become a little trickier because that's not what we've been designed for. That's just an honest way to say it.
Okay.
Did you say you built 4 and 6 node clusters?
We can do pairs, right? So we would say, hey, if you need 6, we would put 3 2-node clusters or 2 3-node clusters. We'd have multiple clusters at one location.
So at the moment,
It's not a
6-node cluster,
3. Yeah, it's separate clusters, correct.
So it's always a 2-node cluster that you offer, but you can scale it through getting more clusters into...
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, we're not. Yeah, look, we don't shy away from the. Like, I'm not hiding the fact that we're not vSAN. vSAN, Hyper-V, Nutanix, just to name those 3 because they're the biggest players in the market. They designed a scalable compute and storage for the data center. And they do a great job. And I get this question a lot from our resellers because they're used to selling Nutanix. They're used to selling vSAN. So we always get this question. I need a 5-node cluster, that kind of thing. But I'll say that when it comes to small, those data center class solutions have a really hard time competing with us because they need so much extra hardware and overhead to run what they do. When you shrink it down, it's not efficient and it's very expensive from a hardware perspective. The servers we need are quite, I don't want to lift it, but they can be quite small. We can run on servers that are even smaller than this. Our code is lightweight. We don't require significant amount of CPU. I think we only require 2 cores to run our software, a small amount of memory. When you start talking about SvSAN and Hyper-V, the hardware requirements go up significantly. Yes, they can scale, they can have a scalable cluster, but when it comes to small, that's where we differentiate and that's where we win. So I try to train the sales force, don't spend too much time trying to put together 2, 3-node clusters and just focus on where we differentiate the most. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So if you're scaling up from a small company, gets really successful, and it goes to a stage when it's a 2-node cluster, up there really does need a data center, your channel would be what takes you through that growth. So you have the discontinuity, where everything goes horribly wrong, then you sort of put a new solution, you want to go continuously scale up if you're growing.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, that's why we sell through the channel. We have very technical value-added resellers and integrators and solution providers that handle customers' growth needs. But I'll tell you that since I've been at StorMagic, I can't think of one example where our customer has grown beyond what we can service them. It's not like, I know you all talk to a lot of vendors, you talk to a lot of customers in different segments of the market. So I'm trying to get everyone's brain around where we focus, and it's important. But that scalable cluster that grows, this is not what we're designed for, and we're very happy to say that and show the industry that we're good at doing this really well, and we're trying to not become something that we're not.
I think, yeah, I would just say to add to that, I mean, I think, our customers do grow and scale, obviously, but this is sort of edge scale, right? To where they're scaling out more so than scaling up.
Yeah.
So any individual site, the demands at each site are not changing that dramatically. It's the fact that you're adding another 100 sites here, another 1,000 sites there.
Yeah.
And that's what we're designed to support.
How big is any one individual node able to scale to?
Yeah, so
How-
10 to 20 VMs before a couple of servers.
Yeah, but how physically big a node?
That's what's the biggest you could build.
Okay, so the question is, how big of a node could we scale to? Julia may want to chime in, but I'll say that we have no restriction on the size of the server. So I'll say that typically, for the workloads that we typically see, it's a single processor, sometimes dual. It's 8 core, 16 core with 16 gig of memory. It's a small setup, and Julian will explain what we have here. But we have customers that have 4 processor servers with 500 terabytes of storage. Like, we have some pretty big use cases. So we can skip, the hardware to us doesn't matter. It could be as robust as the customer needs. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of VM scale at a site, we currently cap at 50, but that's a number that's it's not a theoretical limit. It's more
50 per cluster or
Per cluster.
per cluster.
Per cluster.
But that number's increasing. I mean, we released our first version in August, so these things are developing as we go. But that said, I don't think we've really come across any customer use cases at the edge that are driving much more than 10 to 15
Yeah, we did.
servers.
Before we launched the product, we did a lot of surveys with our customer base and our partners, and we asked, how many VMs per cluster do you require? And I had a pie chart on it, but basically 75% of the respondents said 10 or less, And then the other 25% were like 50, 75. So there's a smattering, but for what we do, like that 6,400 site customer, 2 VMs. That's it. 2 VMs. That's all they got. So we offer something that's super critical for our customers, which is the ability to run applications super reliably at their small sites. And the amount of storage is usually small, the amount of VMs is usually small, but of course we have examples where it's bigger, but our sweet spot is just a couple of servers. I gotta run something, it's really important. And that's why we get business, is because if they had big workloads that need to scale, they probably could afford vSAN. But our customers generally can't. They just want something super low cost.
I think that sounds fine to me. It's just that I hate that with having a hard limit. You say you have got a hard limit.
Yeah, there's no physical limit to what we can do.
Any hard limits, sooner or later somebody hits them and it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, are you seeing in your customer base any demand for, say, AI inferencing, GPU acceleration, etc.? Is that having an impact on your solutions?
Yeah, so the question is about, are we seeing demand for AI inferencing and machine learning, I guess, as well? And I would say yes, we're hearing it, but it's more about planning, right? So we haven't lost business because we don't currently support a GPU in our servers. Julian and his team will figure it out eventually. But we get a lot of questions from our customers as they're planning their next refresh cycle. They're thinking about what they might need for infrastructure, and the question comes up about GPU support and the flexibility of our platform. And absolutely, they wouldn't have to replace a server. They can easily just add a GPU into an existing server, but our software would need to know how to handle it, and that's something that Julian and team are already thinking about. It's on our roadmap, but we haven't seen, like, we need it today. We've heard, what can you do for us in the future? So that's what I'd say to that one. Yes?
Yes, Bruce, it sounds like you're doing great replacing VMware, right? So do you have any discussions with Gartner, for example, about being in the magic quadrants?
So I promised IDC I wouldn't talk about Gartner.
Okay.
No. So listen, I spend a lot of time. I run, in addition to my product role, I'm also Chief Marketing Officer, there you go. So press and I spend a lot of my time with analysts and press as well. So I talk to IDC, I talk to Gartner. There is no magic quadrant for what we do, they got rid of it. But we do get a lot of, so if I was talking to customers right now, I'll pretend that you're all customers. If you're a Gartner client, I would say go to Gartner.com and look for our name, and you'll see we get a lot of mentions in a lot of research. Server virtualization, HCI. Gartner just recently published a paper on edge computing platforms, I think they called it, edge computing platforms that we're one of 9 vendors that are mentioned in there. So we're definitely being followed by analysts, and I can't forget to mention ESG, who's in the room as well. So we're definitely getting noticed by analysts around the world and getting write-ups here and there. But yeah, I would encourage you, we can take it offline if you'd like, but
Okay.
we do get a lot of ink from Gartner in particular.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Who would you say are your top 3 direct competitors? Not VMware.
I thought you were going to ask who are top 3 analyst firms.
There's only 3 letters to which I would respond to that. But
Top 3 competitors?
direct competitors. So we're not talking about VMware. We're talking about competitors in your space specifically.
Well, okay, so I'm going to include VMware, but I'll go more than 3 then.
Okay.
So our main competitors would be VMware and vSAN in particular, and now obviously vSphere. Microsoft with Hyper-V and storage spaces, Azure Stack HCI. So some combination of Hyper-V with storage spaces direct, or if they go the Azure route, it would be Azure Stack HCI. You have Nutanix, because they did announce fairly recently an edge version of their data center thing which is the same features and functionality at a lower price point, which is still significantly more than ours. And then I'd probably throw scale computing in there as fourth. That's our space.
Thank you.
That's our space.
You mentioned that you've got HPE as a partner, but they also have similar capabilities of sensitivity. They now announce their own hypervisor or virtualized.
Yep.
How does that work? What do you focus on? Or how does HPE
Yeah.
today?
Okay, so the question was about HPE and our relationship. So HPE, as everyone knows, is a big mammoth company. I've worked in one of those before at Dell. I know what it's like. So a couple things. One is they chose us about 3-4 years ago because they had Store Virtual. I think some of you remember that brand name. That was an acquisition of Left Hand Networks years and years ago. They end-of-lifed Store Virtual, which is very similar to our SvSAN product. It was a virtual SAN. They end-of-lifed it thinking SimpliVity would work its way down market. And they, about a year later or 9 months later, they realized that it doesn't. And I don't know if that was technical reasons, that they couldn't get it smaller, or just commercial reasons. Maybe they couldn't figure out a pricing model. For whatever reason, Store Virtual never made it down market. So HPE came to us to work with us on SvSAN because that's how they sell small edge sites. So we do a lot of business with HPE, a lot of large accounts. As a matter of fact, some of our largest prospects right now for our new product, SvHCI, our full stack, is with HPE. So we are known within the HPE world, around the HP ecosystem around the world. We're known as the edge storage play. And now that we have our full stack solution, we're getting a lot of attention as well. It's still early days for HPE and our full stack because they're a big company, but we'll get there. They did announce their own hypervisor thing. We've looked at it, we've talked to them. It is not targeted at small. It's targeted at data center and up. So they're very happy to work with us on our full stack solution. And we've got some really interesting things going with that. And I'll just say that I'm trying to think about my audience here, but we have some interesting things in play with HPE in the retail space. So we've been winning business with them in retail. And I may have some additional news for you, but I can't talk about it today, but we've got some interesting things brewing with HPE in the retail space because they want to sell these servers. They want to sell microservers, and they need a good solution to have super high availability with 2 servers because they can win a lot of business with companies that have hundreds and thousands of sites. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Was there another hand up? All right, I'm going to keep going. I want to make sure I don't run out of time. This happened last time. I barely got to the product slides, which is fine. I won't go through this in detail. I know that some of you write for and you cover the channel market, and I'm happy to talk afterwards. We have a couple minutes to chat, but we are a channel-oriented company. We're always looking for channel partners, and the way that we differentiate against some of those other players that Ben forced me to talk about competitors is we have a differentiated product. They're not just selling the same. Everyone sells VMware, everyone sells Nutanix, etc. But we offer them a differentiated product that they can deliver a solution that solves their customers' high availability needs, the ability to run applications, but at a super low price point. And just so everyone gets their brain around this, our solutions, whether you're talking about SvSAN or SvHCI, whichever product, I'll just use round numbers, a single server for the software itself is about $2,000 US. What's that? 1,600 pounds. It's priced very aggressively on the software side, and we require less hardware. So in one sense, the channel may not like us because they would sell less stuff, right? So there's one side of it that says, oh, I don't want low cost. I want to drive as much revenue as I can. But on the flip side, the smart channel partners are seeing this as a differentiator to go win business against their VAR competitors that are selling VMware and Microsoft and whatnot. so they can differentiate and potentially have more budget left over for their services, installation and maintenance and that kind of thing. So that's, we're an easy company to do business with. We have channel salespeople around the globe that work with partners. And if you want to dive deeper into our channel program, I'm happy to take it offline. You all have my card. If you ever want to talk channel, I'm happy to do that as well. Okay?
So no direct sales at all?
We don't do direct sales. We don't do direct sales. We have a direct selling model that we have salespeople that talk to end users, but we always transact business with partners.
How much of sales are completely unassisted just by the partners versus your direct touch with your partner? So
I would say with HPE and Lenovo, those are the biggest ones, and our VAR channel, I'd say about 40% of our business comes to us from VARs and channel partners that just are trained enough and they do their thing. For the big accounts, we're always involved. Right? We have an enterprise sales team that is firsthand looking for large opportunities, and then we talk to the customer and say, who's your favorite integrator? Who's your server vendor? Maybe if they know their HPE, we'll work with HPE. Okay, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go too deep into this because we've already talked about where we focus, but I do want to point a couple things out, is that I think this is a little bit repetitive, so I'll go quickly here, but edge is where we play. We do see significant demand coming for running applications and storing data at edge sites, at small sites. It is growing. All the research points to it. Everyone's data points are slightly different, whether you talk to IDC, Gartner, ESG, everyone has a certain data point, but the general trend is there's more and more applications and data that need to be run at the edge. And the last point there on the right is, I already talked about it, is like most solutions for the edge weren't designed for the edge. And that's where we differentiate. We're singularly focused on designing small systems for this problem. And it's like, depending on who you talk to, edge computing is a $250 billion industry now, growing to $450 billion in a few years. But everyone's got different numbers, but it's in the hundreds of billions of dollars of what's being transacted for hardware, software, and services at the edge. So it's a great market for us. There's a lot of opportunity. And this is an interesting slide. It usually causes a little bit of debate. I'm happy to do that. But the whole cloud versus edge discussion. And yes, there are companies that say we are cloud first, or we're cloud only, or my CIO told me it's got to be in the cloud.
Fewer and fewer.
It's becoming fewer and fewer. If we run into that, I do trade shows occasionally, and if a customer comes by and we start talking, and once they see servers, they go, "Oh, I have to install a server? Yeah, we're not interested. We do everything in the cloud." So we don't talk to them, right? But there's plenty of customers that are either doing both, cloud and on-site, or now they're thinking about it, because running everything in the cloud can be dangerous in terms of outages. I forgot what happened just in the last few months. There was that security company that had that bug, right? That whole Microsoft thing that happened. Clouds. CrowdStrike. Yeah. Clouds were down for a day, right? If you're running your business in the cloud, you were not happy that day. So there's reliability issues with cloud. Internet connections go down. Costs of moving data back and forth to cloud, they run up. The bills, those monthly bills run up. There's a lot of benefits to cloud computing, mostly on the OpEx side, because now you don't have to worry about hardware. You don't have to update firmware. It's simpler for the IT team. I get it. But I think a lot of them, to your point, are now rethinking, like maybe there's a hybrid model here. So that's where we play, is we definitely see this migration. We talk to customers that are either doing both, or they're now thinking, I gotta protect ourselves. We have to put kit locally. Yes.
You don't mention latency on that slide, but I just thought performance.
Yeah, the word latency isn't here, but that's what we're talking about, is that is that no matter how close you are to a AWS data center, you're still far enough away that those bits are usually running through some combination of copper and fiber, and it takes some time, milliseconds, etc. But there could be delays, and some applications cannot stand any delay. They need real-time processing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to my understanding, one of the uses of edge processing is to process data before you send it back to headquarters to
Right.
reduce bandwidth. But if you're limited to 2 nodes, is that going to limit? Forgive me my question.
That's okay.
If you're limited to 2 nodes, does that limit the amount of AI or type of edge processing you do?
Well, I mean, the limit is really just the amount of physical storage that you can attach to any individual. I mean, a lot of data storage, it's not so much about parallelization of access to data. It's more about, you know, the ability to address large volumes of data. You know, if you're storing, you know, if you're storing lots of, you know, data from video streams, for example, you need to be able to write it fast, obviously, but you're not necessarily going to be accessing it all in parallel all the time. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a limit that we come up against a lot, the amount of physical addressable storage at a local site. I mean, you can still access petabytes of storage if you wanted to.
So it's one more try.
Yeah.
I was thinking things like facial recognition at the edge.
Yeah.
We have just spotted a well-known terrorist at Richmond train station.
Yeah.
And the edge process, that facial recognition is actually done at the edge, rather than sending data back to the data center. So it's not. I thought that was about the processing power, not the.
Yeah, well, so a lot of that will be leading towards, you know, like an accelerator, like a GPU device that will be able to do that, you know, parallelize that processing very quickly. But all that, you know, the data models are held in memory in that case.
There's nothing about our architecture that prevents a customer from building a 2-node solution that's quite powerful today and can expand in the future. So if you're an end user thinking about the future, you might spec your server with more horsepower than you need today, anticipating new applications coming down the road. But I will say this, we have a lot of customers, and I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but we have a lot of customers. These are example use cases by industry, but if you just take the retail example, typically our customers run all the applications that are on site run on 2 servers, 2 physical servers. And they've designed it that way, and you'd be surprised how the processing power that they have and what they're able to do. So take a look at the list under retail. Point of sale, video surveillance, so it's not facial recognition, but they're capturing a lot of video. Digital signage, stock control, any application is running locally on 2 servers, and you'd be surprised nowadays in what you can do with just the physical power of 2 servers, depending on how they're configured. And like we said, we are able to add GPUs in the future as well.
I mean, I look at computer vision as a classic
Right.
example, right? Very process intensive.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, you work with some of those computer vision ICs
So the questions are we working with them? I would like to, but we're not there yet. That's our partner. Our partner ecosystem brings the solution together. I've done that before in my career. We just need to get a little bit bigger before we have our ISV partner program. We're getting there, but yeah, we're dependent on our partner network to bring those solutions. But to us, it doesn't really matter what's running in the virtual machine. It's really what it comes down to. We're providing that core infrastructure of high availability, performance, and storage.
The other question I was curious about was, when it comes to the edge, we hear a lot about the rugged edge. So very hot, very cold, very desert environments, military environments. Is that market you're looking at, interested in?
Yeah, so the question was around the rugged edge, and you can think of it as far edge maybe. So yes, so we do play there. We have customers that are putting, I'll give you some examples. We have a customer who is running servers at I forget the right way to say it, but a mine where they're mining minerals, and they need to track, they weigh the trucks going in and out, and they have a couple of servers there. So we're in the middle of a mining operation. We have servers that are on ships that are in the middle of the ocean, cruise ships and military ships. We're on the back of Jeeps in military operations. So we are indifferent to the hardware. I will say, someone asked a question about ISVs. StorMagic has a lot of opportunity for growth, and one of those is to find partners that focus on the military or ships or oil and gas. We just haven't gotten there yet, but we have lots of use cases of where our partners have found those opportunities. So yeah, we do play there, but that's not our focus. I'd say our focus is more what we call enterprise edge business, and lots of sites that way.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I think a lot of that's driven by the hardware environment more so than the actual software platform. One of the key attributes, though, that does make StorMagic very favorable for those sorts of environments, and one of the challenges I've heard, during my career with those sorts of environments is that, often they're locations where you don't have IT trained technical people on hand. Solutions have to be incredibly robust. You've got to know when you power it on, it's going to work. You've got to know if you pull the power and you go set it up somewhere else, it has to be able to start up and work. And that's where these kind of data center platforms like the Nutanix and VMware vSANs and so on are simply not designed for that sort of rugged, pull the power and know that it's still going to come back up. And that's something that StorMagic is really well suited to.
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Can everyone hear Julian at this end of the table? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Just checking.
Okay, yep.
The AI hype, I'm hearing that people are using AI for highly source queries, which they can solve just as easily with old techniques much more cheaply. So the indication is that just because the AI hype, people are increasing the processing load to do AI even though they don't need to. Is that sort of thing worrying you, or do you have more sensible customers?
I wouldn't say it worries us. I mean, I think we're part of a solution. Often those solutions will be driven by the partners. So they'll be putting together, hardware, software, application software and solutions and so on top of that. I think regardless of what the ultimate infrastructure footprint looks like, it doesn't push us out of the picture. So we're happy to be involved in that regardless.
So you do need GPU support
Eventually.
Eventually. It's
Especially since a lot of edge servers will move to APU-based architectures in the future. If you look at where AMD is developing its capabilities and what they've done with the low-end Xeon-based on Ryzen.
Yep.
Well, not Xeon Epic.
Yep, for sure. All right, I'm just going to watch the time here. I want to make sure I save some time for you for demo, but that's okay. I knew this was going to happen. It's a good thing. I'd rather answer questions than just do slides. I'll just hit this real fast. I don't think I need to crawl through it, but the point I want to make here is that the way we go to market, the customers we target, whether they're edge, enterprise edge, or SMB, they all have the same common problems. It's around they don't have IT staff at these sites, so we have to be able to install and update and manage remotely. I'll just give you a quick data point. That large customer with 6,400 sites, when they first deployed about 3 years ago, we helped them with a automated scripting to deploy remotely. So of course, human beings had to install hardware, but it didn't have to be an IT person. Ship a couple of servers, put the power cords in, connect to the local switch, and everything else is done from central IT. And they were able to roll out 250 sites per week. 250 per week, which if any of you that have been around this business know, that's aggressive. We have one customer right now that we're talking to about SvHCI, and they're saying, yeah, if we go with you guys, we have a 3-year plan to replace VMware. It's a 2-server VMware with vSAN. And in that case, they don't need new hardware. We're just going to come in, fail over a server, put our hypervisor on the failed server and fail back. We can do this live on their 2 servers. And they said, it's going to take 3 years because we think we can do about 10 a week. And we're like, you know what? I bet you can do more than that, right? So the fact that our systems are set up to be super simple to deploy and manage is a critical thing for our customers, but they don't have sophisticated IT at these small sites. Budgets is another big one. That's how we win. We wouldn't win business if we were the same overall cost as our big competitors. On our website, we just launched this in the last month or so. We have an enterprise page that now has a calculator on there. And I know you've seen the vendor calculators all the time. It is what it is, but it does show that we can save customers a lot of money by using our solution versus VMware and others. So cost is always a consideration. And then I'd say space, and this is a good example. We can run on just about any platform. As long as it's x86, we can run on it. And this is an example of it that hopefully I'll get Julian up here soon to do a demo. Okay, so I'm going to hit a couple of product slides here. I think we'll be fine. So, but I do have to speed up a little bit. So when we talk about our products, we typically talk in this language, the whole reliability bit. That's super important to customers. We don't, bless you, we wouldn't be in business if we weren't a very stable, reliable solution for our customers. That's what they depend on. And I'll tell you another quick story. And this one, I don't think I'm allowed to mention the name. I think I am. But Giant Eagle is a supermarket chain in the northeast of the US. And they've been using us for 3 years or so. We built them a 3-node solution. We can do 3-node. They chose to keep their witness on site on a 3rd server. They wanted the extra comfort that if a server failed, they'd still have 2 more just in case something bad happened again. 3 years later, we're now having discussions with them about their hardware refresh, and they're saying, we haven't had a failure. We haven't had an outage. They haven't needed that 3rd server, so now they're thinking about a 2-node because they don't need that extra server to spend. So that whole reliability thing, we're really, really good at it. And Julian's going to show you how that works. Yeah.
Just a quick on that. If a server does fail in a typical customer deployment, how long to get a new one back up and running and fully active?
Well, okay, I'll answer that question a little differently. But the question was, how long does it take to get back up and running? So we can't control how long it takes to fix the server. I don't know if that's where you're going.
The server's back in place,
right?
And you need to say get all the data across synced and ready to go and get the active again.
Julian, do you want to?
There's no real miracle to the science. Obviously, you have to sync. It's a mirrored pair between 2 nodes, so you've got a full copy of data on both sides. You have to be able to copy that data back and resync it to the other site. So it will depend on the network access speed. So whether it's 1 gig, 10 gig, multiple network paths to scale that network path up, and it will depend on the type of storage that's attached. So if it's a RAID controller and we're doing RAID 10 across multiple devices, well, obviously we can parallelize that performance. If it's NVMe storage, it will be faster. So those things will really constrain the speed at which you can rebuild.
Yeah, I think this is a good.
Correct. Yeah. So
this is a good segue.
Many customers will have direct connected 10 gig or
so I'll just,
100 gig even in some cases.
I'll just say that again so everyone can hear. So we can go through switches, and I think we're connected through a switch here, but a lot of our customers avoid switch port counts because we can just do direct Ethernet cabling between the nodes. So that would be a very fast way to do it. Many of our customers are still on 1 gig. We support 10 gig. But another thing that Julian did mention is that when a server, and I've got a little animation here that only takes 30 seconds, I'm going to show you. But when a server goes down, we track the writes that are missed. So we're not doing a full sync of all of the data when the server comes back. And that's another reason why the time it takes to come back and up and running is shorter
I think your question was about rebuilding a new server. Right?
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
if you're bringing back a node, if you have a temporary power cycle or something, yes, the resync time is much, much quicker because we only have to resync the data that was missed during that time. Yeah.
All right, so I'd like to move into some producty stuff here so I can tee up the demo here. But SvHCI, so this is our new product that's been shipping just a few months. It is a full stack solution. So it has our SvSAN storage built into the bottom. So that's our core product. And that's why we talk about proven technology, because SvSAN has been 15 years of tried and true, 50,000 installs around the world. That's the core of what we do. And that's handling this complicated made simple, redundancy, failover, all the stuff that Julian's talking about. That's the storage layer. On top of that, we've added a KVM hypervisor. Okay, so that's where we have our hypervisor, virtual networking. We've added management capability, but the platform is a full stack solution that installs together. So the difference here is if a customer is used to VMware, they're going to install vSphere with all the complication of that, because again, it's a data center solution being installed on a server for the edge. So you're installing a hypervisor like vSphere, and then separately you're going to install vSAN. We've integrated all of this together, so it installs simply at one time. Our engineers can do it in about an hour from top to bottom. The average customer will probably take a little bit longer than that, but it's an hour or two. It's not a day or two.
Well, just to put some actual numbers, I mean, the installer image itself is designed to be super lightweight and quick. So it's like a 300 megabyte installation image. You can install via virtual media remotely if you're using an out-of-band controller, or you can install from a physical USB media, for example. The installation takes on the order of a minute or so. I mean, it's super quick. That installs the entire stack, including the storage layer, the networking, the full UI and everything, ready to connect two nodes together into a cluster. Now, the bit that takes a little longer beyond that, of course, then is building out your storage redundancy policy, setting up virtual machine images that you want to bring in, getting those installed, putting it into a cluster and so on. Yeah.
Okay, so I think this little animation may work here. Give me a second. Yeah. So this is just showing the failover. I think it's pretty quick, but we are constantly writing data, so both sides are active, so their customers can run VMs on both sides, and we're constantly mirroring data between the two. So the two servers are always up to date. Our witness is only pinging a heartbeat, so we're not in the data path, and that's how we're able to do this super lightweight witness. When a server fails, all of the VMs move over to the surviving server. The witness is kind of controlling this and telling which server has the lead. When the customer repairs the server, we resync, and again, if it's a repair, then it's just copying back the new data. Once it's all set, we have automatic failback. So our customers don't have to think about it. They fix the server. After the data is synced, the VMs move back over and they're up and running. So we've made this super simple for our customers that probably aren't as sophisticated at these small sites. They just need something that works. And that's a quick overview of how the system works.
And the second server fails, I mean, you've only got 1 point, then you've got one server, haven't you?
Yeah, so
if you are lucky, the second server fails.
Yeah, I mean, if you lose two servers, you can't, obviously, there's nothing you can do.
Bad things happen, yeah.
Even if you have a witness on a separate...
But the same is true, I think, even for most 3-node clusters. If you lost 2 nodes, you're not going to be able to run your VM. Right.
Yeah, there are some clusters out there, 3-node clusters, that if you lose one, bad things can happen too, right? So yeah, exactly.
Quick question.
Yes.
Is that how you effectively upgrade hardware as well?
Pretty much. Yeah, we have customers. We're talking about our new full stack solution, and I'll have Julian keep me honest here. We can't do that. There has to be a little bit of downtime, but we can down a server, install, okay, so first we'd fail the VMs over, and then we'd load our hypervisor on. We would import the VMs over. So there's a process we go through with failing servers and back, but to replace a hypervisor, there would be some downtime, I believe. Yeah?
Yeah, but of course you would move the VMs across so that they're still running.
Right.
The system for a long time was designed to be super robust. So we have like a dual partition where you can upgrade one side, you can reboot to an upgraded image, and that's designed to be able to keep all of the services running the whole time.
Yep.
So what do you do about common failure modes? Because that's going to be an issue where you're rolling out, say, very similar models built at similar times with similar components. And we know that firmwares and other things can be issues, and brick machines all can fail in a common way. So what's your recommendation to customers about, say, buying from different suppliers or different models?
Well, I think if you're doing a firmware upgrade, you want to do it one at a time. That would be the first advice. Obviously we can't avoid, if HPE release a firmware update that's going to be applied out of band and that's going to brick the machine, we can't, obviously at the software level, we can't avoid that. But yeah, it's generally, all of our customers have, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of sites that are replicated, so they're, kind of identical sites for the most part. They'll often have a sandbox environment in HQ, where they'll always, before you roll it out across 1,000 live sites, you'll always test it locally against the hardware. Yeah, exactly. We would recommend that. We can't force them to, but
Okay.
When we fail, obviously, worst case you lose the service. That's not as big a problem as having corrupt data. So, when you fail in the worst case scenario of 2 nodes failing, will you corrupt data or will you just lose the service?
You would just lose the service, yeah. So data rights are always synchronous, they're always guaranteed.
Yeah, so I'm sorry for jumping in. I'm being timekeeper here, but we have a good white paper.
We have about 20 minutes.
Yep. We have a good white paper that walks through failure scenarios and how we handle them. Our engineers really have thought this through. Yeah, so yeah.
I actually did have a related question, which was what about some of the sort of more advanced data services, snapshots, or replicators to a cloud or anything like that?
Yeah, so that's part of the announcement. If I get there, I'm debating. Do I talk about futures or do we do a demo? I think we'll have time for both. But yeah, but I'll get to that. I had another point to make that I forgot, but that's okay. All right, so I'll just hit a couple of slides here on existing products. I'm going to go fast because I think I've talked about a lot of this, but one of the key attributes of our new product, the full stack HCI, is that it's designed for the edge again. We didn't put every single hypervisor feature that VMware has. We don't need it. Our customers don't want that data center cloud. They don't need every feature. We kept it simple. So that's why we use just right, or right size is the term we use. We support any server. The fast failover thing is interesting. Those of you that are more technically oriented may know, if you're using vSphere or Hyper-V, when a server fails and the VMs restart on a surviving server, that could take 2, 3, 4 minutes. So there's usually some application outage for a little bit of time until the VM restarts, and then the applications restart after that. Julian and team have designed this so it's under 30 seconds. And Julian hopefully will show that in the demo. No pressure, Julian. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's one key thing. I think we talked.
30 seconds on a sharp spike. Was it a broad thing averaging 30 seconds?
No, you'll see it work.
You mean like, is it deterministic? Or?
What's the worst case? If you say it normally takes 30 seconds, what's the worst case?
So it can depend obviously on the operating system environment of the VM as to how much pre-initialization it does, when it brings up its networking interfaces, when it starts services and things like that. Obviously, that's internal to the virtual machine. But we will deterministically start up the VM within, it's generally much less than 30 seconds. So on the order of like 10 to 20 seconds.
And you're gonna see that live here in a minute. But I did want to spend a minute here on witness. So we talked a lot about our uptime and high availability. That's a key differentiator for us. But the witness is where the magic is, and the way we design the system. You've all seen the animation. It's just tracking the heartbeat. So the witness is just saying, server 1, are you still there? Server 2, are you still there? That's all it's doing. Whereas other providers in this space that can do a 2-node with a witness, their witnesses are in the data path typically, which means all of the I/O has to go to all of the servers, which means you need pretty fast networking to do that, typically 10 gig minimum. In our world, our witness can only needs 9 kilobit per second network connection, 9 kilobit. So that's a 3G cell phone connection. We have, I heard a story, we have a customer that uses a 9600 baud modem for their witness, right? It's like super, super lightweight. It can withstand up to 3,000 milliseconds of latency. So it's designed for these edge environments that may not have a good internet connection. And if the witness goes away for a half hour, nothing bad happens, everything keeps on running. And yes, maybe Julian or Fred or someone can remind me, I'll send this white paper around that talks about all these failure scenarios.
Absolutely.
Okay, cost-wise, you might see some marketing lingo about save up to 62% over VMware. I thought I'd show you how we do that. So if there's a 2 terabyte solution, this is single server, so one server, 2 terabytes of storage compared to VMware VVF with vSAN, we're about 20% less. But once you start increasing the storage capacity and the subscription length, we're 62% less. And that's just the software cost. That doesn't include the benefit of likely having 2 servers locally instead of 3, less hardware in each server. It's a significant cost savings. In fact, I'm jumping around a little bit, but if you look at the bottom here, this is using this fancy schmancy calculator that we just launched, but we save customers at least $50,000 per site. And that includes hardware, software, and energy as well, electricity. That does not include OpEx savings at all. It's just hardware, software, and energy savings.
Is that for a set storage capacity? Do you have a capacity for that?
No, I think we kept the capacity. I forgot exactly what. I think we used a 6 terabyte example, but if it was 100 terabyte, it would be a lot more than 50,000. So we kept it a reasonable config.
I think the calculator lets you select that, so you can go in and play with
I
that.
think it would be useful to put your X capacity.
Oh,
That's a good point.
On the slide.
That's a good point.
Bruce, do you have an MSP partner? Sorry, I know that you want to move on, but do you have an MSP partner who's doing all of the administration for your clients?
Yes, so we do have MSPs that are using SvSAN, either in their own data center and parsing out services for customers. We also have MSPs that install on-site kit for lots of their customers and manage it remotely using edge control. And we're talking to those MSPs about SvHCI as well.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to skip this, but we do, I think I mentioned already, we do offer data encryption. And I thought I'd throw up a quick case study. This is this was our first customer of SvHCI because they were in our beta program, and as soon as we GA'd, they purchased. It's a German manufacturing company that is using 2 servers with SvHCI. With the external storage is for backup, so they're doing Veeam backups. I think using I forget what they called it. Yeah, so they do an NFS mount with Veeam. QNAP, yeah. And they're very happily running their whole manufacturing plant on StorMagic, running their VMs and their storage.
What's the difference between SvSAN and SvHCI? Do we need to know?
Yeah, the only difference is SvSAN is hyperconverged storage that works with other people's hypervisors.
Oh.
So that's the storage product. That's the one we've been shipping for 15 years or so, 12. And SvHCI is the new product that is full stack with a hypervisor that we brought to market specifically because of what Broadcom offered us. Yeah.
So in your example, there were two nodes in the background, QNAP.
Yep.
Can QNAP run witness?
Yes, we have customers that run the witness. Oh, okay. Yes, we have customers that run the witness on NAS storage. As long as they can run a little VM on there or some utility, we have customers that do that, yes.
It needs to have a compute engine so it can run
Yeah, but most of them, my QNAP's got an Apple Store
Right.
engine for a whole bunch of things that you could easily
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So I do want to get Julian up here, and I apologize for doing this, but I'm gonna do it. I have no choice because I do want the demo. So you will have these slides. They'll get the slides, correct? Okay, so you'll have these slides, and I'm happy to do follow-up calls with anyone that wants. But everything I've talked about till now is public information.
Excellent.
These are the new things that we're announcing December 10th. We've picked the date. Press release is going to go out December 10th.
That's why Bruce is doing it with 9 minutes to go, so.
I know, I feel bad, but I was answering questions, but it is what it is. And I know that seeing the demo would be really good. So I'm going to do this quickly so you can get a feel for what's coming. And if anybody wants to dive deeper, we can do follow-up calls. But the key things that are coming in version 2 on December 10th is we're adding snapshots. So that wasn't in the first product, so there's your answer there. So we will have that extra data resiliency, data protection capability in snapshots. We will integrate this product into our edge control, which is the multi-site manager. And hopefully Julian will at least flash on the screen so you can see it. So we'll be able to manage multiple SvHCIs around the world from one pane of glass. So that's coming. And we are building a VM import capability from VMware. So customers that are using VMware vSphere will be able to simply, if I had time, I'd walk you through it, but you click on the VMs you'd like to import. We'll do the magic in the background of exporting and reconfiguring and uploading into SvHCI. Today, VMs can come in the door, and Julian will show you this, but it would be a manual process of exporting and importing. We're going to simplify that with a tool for our customers, and then just some other smaller features in terms of support for distance clustering that's coming, expanded NIC support. I'll send these over to you so you have the slides. But the three main things are snapshots, edge control, and the VM import capability. Okay, Julian, I'm sorry that
no problem.
I try, but got a lot of questions. So
okay,
try to keep it to 10 if you can.
So we'll do a quick technology
Happens all the
overview,
time.
just to let everyone know. Let me just pull up.
And if anyone would like to go up and take pictures of the servers, please do.
Or you can do it during the break, right?
Yeah.
Pictures during the break if you want.
So we've talked a lot about the use cases, and we've got a live system here. So this is very representative of the type of environment that our customers would deploy. This is based on the HP microservers. So these are an edge-targeted hardware platform. They're not particularly ruggedized, but these would sit typically in a retail store, under a counter, for example. They can be deployed very quickly and easily in those environments, and of course they're priced appropriately for that kind of environment. So what we have here is a 2-node cluster with a witness set up. So these 2 nodes are actually connecting to a cloud-based witness, but equally this could be a lightweight witness that is deployed on site. These systems have just a simple NVMe storage layer inside them. These systems, though, do also provide an integrated RAID facility. So there's the Intel VROC adapter, which is a combined sort of hardware and software RAID. It leverages the Intel CPU capabilities to offload some of the processing for that. We're running our current version of the platform. The version that Bruce was just announcing, the 2.0, will be coming towards the end of this year in December, but I'm not showing that currently at the moment. Okay, so let me just flip to the view here, This is edge control. Let's start with that. Oh, sorry. Highly secure.
Demo effect. Demo effect. As usual.
Julian, we got
with me?
Yeah, 5 minutes and we're going to get the hook.
Okay, I'll try to be quick.
It's my fault. I talk too much, I guess.
Too much interest in StorMagic.
Okay, so this is running as a cloud-based service, and it's a facility that we provide to customers to manage their distributed edge sites. It provides you a single unified dashboard to give you information about utilization, uptime, alerting. You can also do upgrading from a centralized point. So if you've got 1,000 sites and you need to be able to apply updates to each of the sites, you can do that from this centralized dashboard. Each of the systems are accessible here independently. We're enhancing this obviously to provide more capability and functionality around SvHCI. So the new version of this dashboard coming soon will also provide the ability to manage and see the status of virtual machines and workloads that are running at each of these sites, as well as obviously I think alerting is probably the key feature that most customers are leveraging here today. As your edge footprint scales out, that becomes a real challenge to be able to understand what the status is and so on.
I want to hold your time.
Okay, so I won't spend too much time on that. We'll focus more on the local cluster here. So system is designed to be simple, robust, easy to set up. We install SvHCI onto each of the physical nodes. We then join them together. They actually communicate over the local network. You can go to this discovery function and you can detect other nodes on the same network, or you can input if you're connecting over a longer distance, like a metro cluster, for example. You can explicitly attach them together. But effectively, what we've done is added these two nodes. You can see the two systems here that are uniquely identified by the hardware signatures into a logical cluster. And that then gives us the ability to deploy virtual machines and to be able to protect the virtual machines so that they are synchronized across both nodes. So if one of these nodes disappears, which we'll show in a second, the virtual machine data is replicated to the other side, and the virtual machine metadata is also replicated. So everything comes back online as it should. There's functions here to attach to the physical network. We provide the ability to interface into the switch infrastructure, including VLAN tagging at the network level, NIC teaming, bonding, and so on. You can configure different settings as to how you want to actually utilize the physical network. We talked about back-to-back connectivity for storage traffic or management traffic, for example, that might be independent from the virtual machine interfaces that are communicating to different networks and so on. So that's all configurable through this UI. Storage capability. So again, we utilize all of the direct attached storage that's accessible to the hosts. We create storage pools, and we can also interface to RAID controllers on the system. So in this example, with a VROC controller on the system, we can add and remove physical storage drives. We can set up hot spares, and this can all be done remotely as well. So for system administrators who are managing these systems remotely in the store, it's a very simple, unified interface for doing that.
Yeah, the storage, would you have specially certified storage?
Not specially certified. We have support for a very large variety of adapters. We also have software RAID. So if you have just generic SATA or SCSI devices attached to the system, we can create a software RAID function above those as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is obviously one of the key differences with SvHCI is now the ability to manage virtual machines. We've got a couple of VMs running here, one across each of the nodes. It's very simple to migrate a virtual machine across. just click on migrate, it'll push it over to the other side. We can also attach to the VNC console of any of the VMs, so you can get direct manageability regardless of whether you have network access or not to that virtual machine. So what I'll do here in the interest of time is just illustrate. So I've got 2 VMs running here, one on each node. They're both live and active. We're pinging them. So what I'll do is pull the plug on one of the machines, and we'll see that fail over, and we'll see how long it takes for the virtual machine to be restarted on the other side. So, oops.
And we're ready to do this.
Yeah. Okay, so powered out on the top one here. Yep. We can see that ping has stopped on that side there. So the VM will be starting up on the other side, and we should see it come up in just a second or so. There we go, it's already back up. So that was a full VM failover between 2 physical nodes. Obviously, we had to restart the VM in this case because it was a hard power off. But we can, we now have everything's failed over to one node. Just to prove that, I'll unplug it all. So everything's still redundant and it's still running. Obviously not fully redundant at the moment. When we power that back in, it will restore itself and recover.
Do you have any sort of almost hot standby VMs where if the systems aren't on the load, you can mirror them, get them ready to go with just a few seconds latency?
With the VMs, you mean running like?
Set them up and maybe you have them be fairly synced and ready to go if it's not all demand.
Yeah, we don't have full memory fault tolerance at this stage.
Yeah.
But
fault tolerance is the feature you're looking for, I think. Yeah, that's something we don't have today. If our customers ask for it, I'm sure we'll figure out how to do it. But that's a very advanced, and it's an expensive feature in terms of not the software costs, but network costs and storage, etc. Yeah, we kind of talked a little bit too much and didn't leave enough time for Julian. I think we're going to get the hook here. But any last questions for me or Julian about the tech? Anything else that you'd want to see?
Any support for DPUs in terms of accelerating the data and network traffic?
No, not at this stage. Again, I think that's more of a data center feature. We'll certainly look at it over time, but I think on these types of devices, cost and simplicity is really key. We're not seeing sort of advanced storage functionality in hardware at this point. We focus really on building a lot of that in the software layer, being able to leverage any type of storage that's directly attached.